Here's what you need to know. A new report was just shared stating the Stranger Things jacket YNW Melly is wearing in the video just hours after the crime is the same one as YNW Juvy had on when they left the studio early on in that morning. YNW Bortland is wearing the one Sakchaser had on. Crazy, isn't it? Including a Facebook live video of somebody recording YNW Melly and Bortland just hours after the crime went down.
You see him? Melly still turned regardless of what happened this early morning. He's still out here being very positive. Turned still. Hey! The dog still turned regardless of what happened. You already know.
That is how YNW Melly and YNW Bortland were reacting and even feeling just hours after the incident, as the timestamp on the Facebook Live is October 26, 2018, which is the exact day that the crime happened. Obviously, it's not the exact same jackets as the ones inside of the vehicle, it is just an identical version. However, moments after that video was then released online, YNW Bortland would appear inside of the courtroom.
Poor little Henry.
Yes, sir, he's present.
But you want to back
Status conference.
Come on up.
And I guess you're already in trial with codicil, I know. We're set for October 3rd for trial.
You had a motion pending as well?
Yes, Judge. At the court, when we were here the last time, you let him go to church and stuff, you said about working, you would be subject to seeing his schedule. We filed a schedule for the next couple of months.
I saw that.
Be able to work. And I talked to his probation supervisor. She has no problem with him at all. She said that if he's going to go to work, she'd like anybody has to do, provide an itinerary, where he's going to be, how he's going to get there, how it's going to get done.
As it was also announced, YNW Bortland, YNW Melly's co-defendant, trial for the case will begin October 2nd. As during his small court hearing today, the trial date was set, but also a few questions we've all been waiting to hear an answer for were asked, which could relate to the feds knowing that YNW Melly was the guilty one all along. With the first question being, why did YNW Bortland receive a bond out of jail for the last few years, but not YNW Melly?
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
Revealing the feds believed all the way from the start YNW Melly was the man who did the crime. Mix that with Bortland not having a legal history, this is how YNW Bortland received a bond. However, the next question is where it gets even more interesting.
Is it too late for Cortland to plea?
It's like the Justin Bieber song, it's never too late to say sorry, I think. No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. I've had individuals been offered pleas but turned them down in the middle of trial. I've had people offered pleas before a verdict came back. So it just depends on the case, depends on the prosecutor, depends on the actual charges. So no, it's never too late for that. He could take a plea in the middle of his case. I don't think that would happen. If he was going to take a plea, if there was going to be a deal, it would be in the middle of Melly's case.
Many online lawyers are stating that YNW Bortland taking a plea deal is very likely in this case, especially with how YNW Melly's lawyers are treating this case for themselves, as it all started with a report of forensic expert in the YNW Melly case explains how he determined it was not a drive-by
assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by, and it's based upon this picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done. One is done at a stationary position. The at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in. The one round that has some movement in it, which is round site L here, the actually moving in that to create the little bit of a that you see there.
Okay, a lot of information in that answer, so let's break it down a little bit. You mentioned so I'm going to zoom in on site F.
This forensic expert is a 20-year veteran in his field. He's highly respected and has all of the accolades to prove it. After hearing what he shared, it makes sense why the prosecution left him to be one of their last witnesses/experts to be on the stand, as the next piece of evidence that he shared is very concerning for Melly. As the report states, YNW Melly is accused of being the one using the firearm in this situation. Sergeant Williams, who said there was an item used 3 times inside of the Jeep, including 17 times outside of the Jeep.
Number, you said 17 outside the car. How many rounds were inside of the car?
3.
And can you exclude the for Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas as coming from outside of the car?
Yes. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that Christopher Thomas, where did that come from?
Driver's side back seat.
Oh. Is it possible for there to have been 2 inside that car?
No.
Why not?
There is no time.
As we would then even hear from the rap lawyer speaking on this, as well as speaking on Sergeant Williams.
You see what the experts are doing for the prosecution, and what's interesting to me is what the defense is doing when they cross-examine these experts, which is they're essentially highlighting the prosecution's opinion. Rather than try to pick apart holes and say, what about this, what about that? They're saying, oh, this is what you're saying, right? That's a fact? Okay, and they're knocking them down, and they're pinning them down, and they're saying, okay, I'm going to hold you to this. This is your opinion. You think you know for a fact that came after this person was bet. You think you know for a fact that these came from not a drive-by because of the trajectory, and I know bet. And so what you're going to see, what I assume, because what is the defense doing? Well, I assume they have experts who they believe are a lot more credible, who have testified a lot more times in cases, who have a lot more research and credibility based on their experience and history in the field. And those experts are going to come on and take the stand, and those experts are going to poke the holes and say, you can't possibly know when this in relation to that. You can't possibly know how. We'll see. But that's what seems like it's setting up for the defense's experts to come in and...
However, this is where it starts to get very weird in the trial, and even why online lawyers believe Bortland is going to take a plea deal. Now, it's clear this expert is sharing unbelievable information, making it seem like YNW Melly definitely did the crime. So when it was time for Melly's lawyers to ask him questions, the prosecutors didn't even need to continue. Melly's lawyer begins asking, and the first question he asks is a clever way of practically snitching on YNW Bortland. You need to hear this.
And you are aware that the person that claimed it was a drug is Cortland Henry?
I believe so. I don't know who said that it was a drive-by. I was just asked to say if it was a drive-by.
Okay. And you are aware that when Cortland Henry made this statement that this gentleman was nowhere around, right?
I wasn't part of the initial investigation.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was included in Miramar's investigation with that.
Okay. But what you are saying is whoever claimed was lying.
Was incorrect.
This is around now the 4th time YNW Melly's lawyers are making it public to the jury that Bortlen is the one that lied. He's the one that lied about what happened to the feds.